We say we have surrendered, but we're still waiting on certainty. And what I've come to find out is that surrendering and certainty, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. Welcome back to another episode of the Faithful Podcast. I'm your host, Asia, aka Asia Jolly. I know it has been, almost 6 months since the last episode. Man, it has been quite the journey, and I'm so excited to get into it. I'm so excited to share just what this first half of the year has just been, and I hope that everything that I share, you could take something away that kind of aligns with your journey, and hopefully it helps. First, we're going to get into the faithful message of the day, a little note to self, note to you. And today's message is about sometimes when we are navigating a season of uncertainty, we can tend to find ourselves putting one foot in and one foot out. We say we have surrendered, but we're still waiting on certainty. And what I've come to find out is that surrendering and certainty, you're not going to get it. You're not going to get it. And there is a difference between clarity and certainty. And I think this whole first half of the year, I was looking for certainty. And so on the last episode, I talked about how I went from fear of failure to fear of expansion, and how I was sitting in a full circle moment where I found myself, in the same spot from when I first started full-time entrepreneurship. And, I just knew. I just knew that God was sending me in a season of expansion. I thought it was, more opportunities, more visibility. And yeah, that does come with expansion. It doesn't mean there's an absence of that. But what I've come to realize is that before you get to that, there's a missing piece that I think needs to happen before you jump into that, to avoid having to fix so much later. And not to say that your journey will be perfect, not to say that your journey won't come with ups and downs, because it absolutely will. But it really taught me that expansion has more to do about you as a person and how you're able to carry that expansion when it comes. So it turned out to be almost entirely different than I expected. So at the top of 2026, I had launched Jolly Media House, and at the same time, I lost my last longest standing client. And immediately I was like, God, how could you say that I'm expanding? And then I start it felt like I was losing so much. Like everything was just being taken away. And I was like, God, this not making sense. It's not making sense. It's not making sense that you said we about to go into a season of expansion, yet it feels like a season of loss. And in that, man, I fell into this place where I started falling back into old ways. I started falling back into wanting to prove. And I wanted to prove so bad that the decision I made was right, to myself, to others. I wanted to prove that the momentum was there. I wanted to prove that there was value in what I was building, even if it didn't make sense. I felt like I had did a lot of shedding up until that point, that I felt like God was going to be like, okay, we good now. We ready to go to the next thing. We're ready. You're ready. I was so excited because I'm like, wow, we have the vision. I'm ready to go. I have a client that I can kind of start that with, and it didn't work out. It didn't work out, and that was okay. But that didn't mean that it didn't come with disappointment. And it didn't mean that I wasn't going to go through the motions of that loss. Because once again, I had to grieve something, and it was like, God, dang. I was like, dang, God, I've been grieving for so long, grieving things ending, grieving why things ended, why things are happening the way they are, just why. And here we are yet again. Another situation where I'm not going to get my answer. I'm not going to know why. And so in that, I was forcing so much. And on top of that, I thought it was a season where God was telling me to build my team and do all these things, but God wasn't telling me to do that. He wasn't telling me to build my team yet because I only had a vision. I didn't have a structure yet. I was going from freelancing, which is hustle culture. And now I'm going to actually building a business that can sustain the test of time and that can have longevity, that can leave a legacy. That takes time. That takes building systems, building structure. And more importantly, it means you have to be right. You have to be the CEO of your own life in order to see that come to fruition in your business. Building discipline with myself, continuing to have good character and build good character. It is building that sense of consistency with yourself. It is emotional resilience. It is keeping those daily promises to yourself and almost like a sense of self-leadership. I honestly feel like this was the thing about myself that I feel like I struggled with the most. And then you have that spiritual expansion that happens where it's like, you have to trust without certainty. You have to have faith even when you don't know exactly what is next or the next exact step. It is trusting. It is being obedient to the thing that you are feeling led to do and understanding that you're not going to know if that next step is right or wrong. You're not going to know where it's going to take you or what door it's going to open or whatever it is, you're not going to know. I just found myself slipping back into the very thing that I had gained an awareness of. So I knew all of my patterns. I knew the things that I had to let go of about myself. I knew all of these things, yet there's a difference when you have to actually walk in it on a daily basis. And so when that happened, I was disappointed. I fell into a depression. No one may have known. I didn't just go around telling people I was depressed, but I definitely fell into a depression. I gained weight. I was sleeping a lot more. I was just like so down because I thought my mind went to the fact that like, oh God, this is not good. You're failing. But that wasn't true. And it's crazy because I knew I wasn't failing per se, but I guess a part of me did have a moment where I was like, damn, did I make the right decision? Did I make the right decision? And every time I asked myself that, I ended up saying, no, you absolutely made the right decision. You're absolutely exactly where you're supposed to be. It all made sense, but it didn't take away from the fact that I felt what I felt. And I think a lot of times we do get so wrapped up in the feeling of the circumstance or whatever it is that sometimes we allow ourselves to get swallowed into that. And I know me, I get swallowed in my emotions and feelings like that. And it wasn't to say that I was crying and depressed, not getting out of bed every single day. Like that's not what depression had looked like for me. It honestly really just looked like me slipping back into those survival instincts. I mean, I was trying to prove myself so bad, y'all. Like I was forcing things and nothing was working. And I was like, wow, there's no way. I was like, there's no way this is happening, because when you come from a season where you feel like everything is just kind of falling into place, everything works, things are just flowing to you, so now you're in a place where you're like, well, I feel like I'm doing the right thing, but it's not working. I realized I wasn't building the vision. I was trying to prove it. And the vision isn't for us to prove. As a matter of fact, a lot of people won't get your vision. A lot of people trust me when I say a lot of people probably think your vision is too unrealistic. They probably think it's unrealistic. They probably think it's far-fetched. They probably think you're doing too much. They probably think, how you gonna make that happen? I clocked myself right then and there. I say, you are falling back into the very thing you just said on the last episode that you were about to walk into. So I want to talk about that because we don't talk about how hard it is. Like, once you make that decision, once you make an active choice to say, I'm no longer doing this anymore. I'm no longer walking in this. I'm no longer doing this, X, Y, and Z, whatever you decide to not be or do anymore, you can have all that awareness, but it requires you to walk in that daily because it won't change overnight. It's so easy to fall back into the version of yourself that you're used to, the familiarity. Did I say that right? The familiarity, the comfortability of it. It's so easy to fall back into that if we're not intentional every single day. And in order to be intentional, we have to be present. One thing I love about God, so gracious, so gracious. In the middle of, that feeling of feeling depressed, being disappointed that things weren't working out how I thought they would, God showed me glimpses of what was to come. We ended up doing a Mother's Day event in collaboration with the Sophie Hotel. We had a collaboration, a partnership with Black Opal, Black Girl Vitamins. We had Chicago French Press in the building. We did portraits for moms and families. And then we had Define Radiance in there. We had such a good time. It was such a good time. It was such an amazing event. And in that event, to promote the event, we rolled out a conversation where I sat down with moms and we talked about the spectrum of motherhood. And honestly, there was so much I want to get into, which is why I know that it's probably going to end up being a series of some sort. So I sat with 4 moms and we just talked about different aspects of motherhood in which I knew that they could relate to. And you can find that on the YouTube channel and also on our social media page if you want to get into that. But it was just a beautiful glimpse of what's to come. And on top of that, I got my first big opportunity under Jolly Media House that came to me. So in the middle of me doing all the begging, can we be honest? It was practically begging at this point. It was practically begging for you to see me, see my value. In the middle of all that, trying to force it, that opportunity came to me. And it came through an old client that I worked with one time that had one experience with me, that she recommended my company, a new company at that. Like, it's a difference between being a freelancer and saying, hey, this girl has a company now, but we trust her enough, so we're recommending her to you. It just goes to show that God will show you just a little amount of light. You know how we say we just need faith the size of the mustard seed? God will show you that. If you could have just a little ounce of faith, God will show you a little bit of light. And in that light, God will show you confirmations. God will give you glimpses into what's to come. But you got to be present enough to receive that and be able to understand that that's what it is. And so that's what happened. And I think back now and I'm like, man, I probably would have had a much more peaceful year had I just trusted the uncertainty, trust what God was telling me to do, which is be faithful with the vision and doing what I needed to do behind the scenes. And it's not to say that I wasn't doing those things, because trust me when I say I was working, your girl was working real hard behind the scenes this first half of the year. But at the same time, because I thought God was not only expanding me to bigger opportunities and all the external things we talked about, I was trying to build a team too early. And I took on a responsibility that I was not ready for. And in that, it cost me. It cost me money. It cost me peace. It cost me a lot of different things. Now you have this pressure on you. Now you're operating out of urgency instead of discernment. And when you operate from that place, it is impossible to stay aligned. It is impossible to stay in peace. And that's all I feel like God wanted for me. This is going to make me emotional. This is going to make me emotional. Don't do it. I feel like all God wanted me to sit in was just some peace. I have not stopped. I have been non-stop going and going since I first started entrepreneurship in 2019, like I said. And I had been going and going and going. I did not stop. I did not stop, y'all. I didn't stop when I had my first child. As a matter of fact, it made me grind harder. It made me hustle harder. It made me put myself in a position where I was like, I can't lose. I got a child now? Oh, absolutely not. You know what I mean? And so I never stopped. I was on a constant hustle, so there was no structure. There was no truly taking care of myself, having routines for myself, because work was life. Going straight into work, feeling the anxiety of deadlines and all the things. And it's like, I can't live like this anymore. I can't. And I feel like all God wanted for me was for me to finally just sit in some peace. I feel like I had a half peace. Like I had peace because I had to let go. And I felt like the sense of like, oh God, there's so much new coming. And that's exciting. It's so exciting when you know you are on a new horizon. Uncharted territories is scary, but it's also like exciting because it's like, oh God, what's next? What's about to happen? God was not asking me to figure out all the pieces that I constantly asked myself for years. For years, I've had this vision, but I'm like, ooh, I need a team to do stuff like this. I need. And we constantly are telling ourselves we need certain things in order to start, in order to take the leap. God was asking me to build my system, my routines, my rhythm, my foundations from a fresh start. Because I felt like I had let my whole first half of life, not even half, because I'm going to live more than 60 something years now. Let me not put that out there. But my first 30 years of living, I feel like I had let and shedded and let all of that go, right? And so God was never asking me to build a team. He was asking me to start from a new foundation, a new routine, a new rhythm, a new leadership, new. And the beautiful part about that is you get to build that. You get to build what that looks like. You get to decide for yourself what pours into you, what makes you be able to be the best version of yourself, so that when you show up for all the things in your life, all the things in every avenue, not just work, not just career, but in your relationships and parenthood and motherhood. And, you know, I'm so glad I went through it. It's been a journey. And it's still a journey. It's me still figuring out. I think that's what this year's going to be about, is just me continuing to just operate in the consistency of it. Sometimes we feel like if there's not an intensive feeling attached to it, something major is happening, then you're not progressing. You know what I mean? And I've been realizing like there's so much beauty in consistency, even if it doesn't have that intensity feeling attached to it. The mundane, the things that we sometimes take for granted. You know what I mean? Like the very things that we get to just choose to operate in is what we take for granted. And I took it for granted. You have to tend to yourself first and your garden first. And I just did not do that. So that's what I've been doing, is I have been just slowing down, like truly slowing down, keeping those promises to myself. I've been walking, sticking to my routines, switching up my routines, figuring out what works best for me, not creating routines of what other people, tell you to do or what works for other people, but creating a routine that satisfies you and fuels you and pours into you and just works for you and your life and and your rhythm. I've been protecting my peace. Now, what that looks like is no longer explaining myself. That has been protecting my peace. It has been not allowing myself to fall into any negativity, anything that doesn't serve where I'm headed, where I'm at. Like, honestly, I just don't have the capacity for anything that's not bringing me peace. Every day, I've just been looking at each day as it's a new brick. Those bricks had to be put down brick by brick. And that's what the daily consistency and the daily promises looks like for me. It's such a good visual to think about when you are trying to remain present. It's like, instead of asking myself, like, was I successful today? Did I do everything on my list? Did I do that? Was I faithful today? Was I faithful today? That's the question we really need to be asking ourselves. Faith means trusting God enough to keep on building, even as you're growing, even as you're changing. No matter what, you continue to build. You continue to lay down a brick day by day. I just want to encourage all of us to just stay faithful in our journey. I think sometimes we're waiting for the next opportunity. We're waiting for the next moment. God is just asking you to become a person who could steward that when it does come. Because who are you going to be when you get it? Who are you really going to be when you get it? God is more interested in who you are becoming as a person than just giving you the opportunity, than just giving you what it is that you want in the physical external realm. And most importantly, we have to stop asking for more when we haven't even stewarded what's already been given to us. We have to steward that first in order to be trusted with more. It's not just about what he's called you to do. God cares more about who he's called you to be. Thank you guys for tuning into yet another episode of The Faithful Podcast. Make sure to follow us at The Faithful Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and you can find the full visuals on Jolly Media House because The Faithful Podcast is our first IP under Jolly Media House. Can we get a round of applause? Yay. But until then, I'm excited to continue this conversation. Feel free to DM me if this episode, was impactful to you. Share with someone who you believe could use it. Until then, I will see you guys on the next episode. Bye, guys.